Welcome friends. This is a typical session on travel writing. We all travel. Travel has over a period of time changed drastically. What travel was earlier is completely different. And travel writers normally would write their own experiences when they go to that place. So the postulate is yes, they have gone to the place and that's why they are writing about that particular place. That's what is travel. But there are many writers who do not go and still because they read or see podcasts and other things, and they'll tell you how exactly to go to Greece, and one wonders as to how is he telling so correctly about that place. That is because he has studied it very well. So travel, yeah. There are travel writers, there are travel podcasters, there are travel bloggers. We have got this entire thing is changing from actual writing books, stories to something that is new age. So our topic, as it says, how exactly these writers are going to be useful or beneficial to the modern world. Today's world, that is you, youngsters like collegians and 25, 30s, because they would like to have a different dimension. So today's world is not into reading much stuff, big novels. They want cryptic stuff to the point. Time is invested elsewhere, unlike olden times when people would spend hours, especially at nights, to finish a book. That is how my generation has gone. They would be engrossed so much so that many lost their appetite. Now, who reads a newspaper, leave alone a book? That is what is today's world. So, my first question to all these eminent people is: do you feel today's generation read travel books? So I would leave this question to all three.
I think there is a market for travel books, and like there is market for non-fiction. Travel books are also, like, in my opinion, quite popular. And there's a niche market for it. So I don't think we should stop writing about travel if we love doing that.
I think travel writing has only evolved, and travel writing has taken on very different shapes from before. What would you call a writing? Would you have a book that has 150 to 150 pages? No. There's also scripting that goes on in a podcast. There is travel bloggers. There's people on Instagram who do a lot of travel recommendations. And they're extremely easy to follow also because of the lack of time and the entire thing of scrolling. Most youngsters today probably, and not just youngsters, a lot of us also have stopped reading as much as we did in the past. So travel writing can never stop because it's the wanderlust वो एक हम सबके अंदर एक चाह है कि नई चीज़ों को देखें, नए जगह को एक्सपीरियंस करें, नए खाने और कल्चर्स को एक्सपीरियंस करें. तो ट्रैवल राइटिंग तो कभी खत्म नहीं होगी. अलग-अलग जॉनर्स और शेप्स देंगे.
I think Prashant, what you asked is, are the younger generation reading about travel? And I think so, yes, yes and no. In the sense, there are a few people who still love to read, and there are many who like to see on a podcast or on a YouTube and before going to that place. Even I started doing it now that I'm traveling. I visit a place on the YouTube if I can, so that I know a little bit about it. But reading की मजा एक अलग होती है. It's very different. You feel the place, you experience the culture about it, So I think there is a way. This one particular book which I wrote about my hitchhiking trip to Middle East and Europe in 1971. It was a 3-month trip. And my nephew who lives in USA told me, Mama, this is one book I read from start to the end one night. He said, I just couldn't leave it. It was so interesting, the entire adventure of this. So he's 38. So today's generation, and he is saying this. So I think there are people and people, but yes, I think there are people who will read and there are writers who will write.
Right. Mohua, I have a direct question to you because you are a successful podcaster today, but there has been a journey in your life which I have known. What has been the main influence in your life to what you are doing?
So the influence, of course, has been the travel that we took as a family, not only on leisure but also by force because of political and social changes in Shillong that made a lot of Bengalis to be displaced. And the person that I am, I think, is because of the hardships that I faced in the entire shift of cities from Shillong to Delhi, from Delhi to Bangalore, and then my father always constantly wanted to return back into Bangladesh from where he came. But yes, we traveled tremendously as a middle class Bengali home. Every year, twice a year we traveled. And my mother was a working woman, she got her LTA, and we went by train. And my first flight also with my father took me to Nepal, I remember, and we traveled a lot. And that was the idea of leisure for us, reading and traveling. So yes, travel has been very integral part of our growing up with us.
Do you think this new technique of podcast is better than writing a book or writing short stories about travel? Means what I want to know and you can share with the audience how podcast you think is more dominant.
I'm essentially a writer. I am one with myself when I sit down with my pen and paper. I love to write. I love to get into the entire dream of imagination. I love to put imagery, metaphor in my words and in my sentences. But I also understand that the world of media is changing. I also accept the fact that in today's world, podcast is day by day increasingly becoming a very huge form of it's a huge communication medium that is taking place across the world. India happens to be the second largest market in India, podcasting market. Podcast helps because you could just be doing a chore in your house and you can be listening to travel podcasts, economic podcasts, storytelling, stories, books, audible, and I think if you embrace the change, it only helps you grow. I mean. But deep down, I really love writing and I enjoy the writing the most. Podcast has been very interesting because it's opened my world. I've had guests from Africa, from the US, from UK, the migrant community from UK who share with us their stories about what happens to them when they go there. So the world has really become very small with podcasting. I kind of don't even understand the distance with podcasting.
Yeah, I have a question for Beetashok. Beetashok is a very unique name here. Shok beat there. This is how one would say in Hindi.
Sorrow has passed.
Sorrow has passed.
I'm very happy.
So he's very happy. 25 years actually is not a joke. It's a huge experience. And he has compiled that in his book. Do you think that now the books that you have written have got the right audience? I mean, writing on travel, that is travel writing, has been very beneficial to you and you will continue with this.
I'm not a travel writer per se, but I have traveled all my life, all my adult life. I've traveled the world over many times because it's my job. It's my job to travel. I was a seaman for 45 years and a ship's captain out of those 45, at least 30, 35 years. So I've really seen the world. But my unique perspective is that I have seen all these places from seaward. I have approached places from the sea and it's not like, running down, hitting the runway and then going to collect your baggage at the airport and then going and getting a taxi. So I have approached, for example, I have seen sites that the normal tourist will not be able to see. For example, did anybody know that if you approach Visakhapatnam, Vizag, nothing great, not a famous tourist site. If you approach it from seaward, you will first come across a hill on your right side where there is a temple, a mosque and a church, all on the same hill at different levels. So where will you see that? New York, for example, if you enter New York from seaward. There is a lighthouse which is about 5 kilometers away where the marine pilot goes, and then he takes the ship in. The first thing you will see a amusement park of Coney Island, which is just the southern part of Brooklyn on your right. So you'll see all those Ferris wheels and all that. Then you go in and you turn to the right, and you'll see Staten Island on your left, which is the picture of suburbia. Manicured lawns, all neat houses, cars, the driveway, bank, church, etc. Then you pass under Verrazano Narrows Bridge. That's a very famous bridge which has come in many of these Hollywood films, where all these distressed women and guys they shop because they don't want to live there. So, and then when you go further down, you'll see the Statue of Liberty on to your right. And if you go at the daybreak, it's lovely. The sun just begins, the rising sun just begins to shine on it. And with the backdrop of Manhattan, all skyscrapers, it's a beautiful sight. So these sites maybe the normal traveler has not seen. Or approaching Montreal, in Canada, through ice, absolute river, St. Lawrence River packed with ice, and you are trying to make your way. So it's a great adventure. So I have really been to a lot of places. I have not seen much of the interiors because I have mainly seen the port areas. But what I have done, I'm not a travel writer person, but what I have done is I have incorporated those travel experiences in my stories. Like for example, here in London, I know London quite well. So London, I have robbed an art museum. Not me, my protagonist. We robbed an art museum. He drove through the streets and he did his thing, and he went out to the M1 motorway and he reached Milton. Because I've been through these areas, so I'm told it looked very realistic. Or New York, Manhattan, for example. I befriend a guy who's a survivor of 9/11. But again, I described New York pretty well and what happened, blah, blah, blah. It's all because of my travel. The duty of the travel writer is to transport you into that particular place. So that you can feel the culture, you can taste the food, you can, really be there as if you have traveled yourself. So that's what I try to do in my stories, though I'm not a traveler. Does that answer your question?
Kind of. The Vilas Kale, I have seen 106 countries, if I'm not 108 now. 108 countries is a huge number. Do you plan your travel and then how exactly you compile? Do you finish a journey or finish a particular place and you compile sequentially your experiences into a book or into something that is travel writing?
See, travel writing actually happened to me by accident. When I first went out of the country was in 1968, I was just 17 and we went to Afghanistan. And at that time, somebody suggested to me, I'm a Maharashtrian and in the Marathi culture, it is very common to write Nibandh, which is essay. So I was encouraged by my grandfather, कि जरूर essay लिखना तुम्हारे लिए. So I wrote them, and then later, 3 years later, I went hitchhiking for 3 months to Middle Eastern Europe. So I took a notebook, 100-page notebook, and in that I wrote my entire story. And that's how it started. But later on, I kind of, made it a point that every day in the night or early morning, just write what happened yesterday. The places we visited, something unique that we saw, or something unique that we ate. I'm quite a foodie, but I'm a total vegetarian. And so, traveling all these countries and being an absolute vegetarian, I don't even eat eggs. So I used to, but I love the adventure of trying local food. So I used to kind of, look at some things which I ate so that I remember it and go back and make it for myself. So these ways, luckily when it came to writing the book, I had all my notes of the last 53 years of travel. So those notes came handy and I had to of course rework on them. Some of the places I had written in short, so some places I had to hunt, what was this place which I went to and all. But yeah, it came all handy and I was able to put it together. So I make it a point even now to write my journal of the travel that we did and last 3 days experience. So it becomes happy.
Prashant, I'd like to add to what
Yeah.
Vilas said about
Go ahead.
making notes, a journal, very, very important. If you want to be a writer, whether travel writer or otherwise. So just like Vilas did, I also used to maintain a kind of a journal of all the places I visited. And that comes in very, very handy when you're actually writing a story and you want to involve those scenes and all those places. Yes.
Because tell me, when you write, you've written two big books. One is, of course, we want the readers to come with you and in your travel through the world. Do you feel that this should be made a venture which would give you money to the writers? How exactly do you feel the writers can get money when they write? Making it more commercial. Because what has happened is over a period of time, other the medium, that is podcasts or anybody goes and sees. It's very easy to see New York without going to New York because everything is available. Now when you write, इतनी सारी मेहनत आप करोगे, सारा इकट्ठा करके लिखोगे, तो पढ़ने भी चाहिए लोगों ने और उतना सेल भी होना चाहिए उसका. So do you have any such plans of making it more commercial?
Honestly, no. Because when I wrote this book, a lot of my doctor also asked me, Papa, who's going to read such a thick book? And it is got almost every page has a color in it because I have included the paintings which I did on the spot when I was in those countries, or after coming back from my photographs which I had taken. So paintings have more color in it, so you can't possibly have so it became expensive. And so it's commercially a disaster. And मेरे को ही अपने जेब से पैसे भरने पड़े इसमें. So I can't really answer, and I don't see the possibility of this becoming a money earning proposition for a person like me who is not a known author or anything like that. This I have written out of my passion for travel. So I don't know how to become a celebrity author and that, and it's too late in life for me now to consider all those things. So I am happy. No, I'm saying I'm happy with what I've done. I've put in my money, and I only hope readers enjoy it.
Let me ask the same question to Mohua with slight twist that she's changed her line from too much of writing into podcast. Podcast is very successful and she has a Mohua show. It is a very popular show and I think 160 some episodes have already been done. So on this specific topic of travel, how exactly do you feel this show and your podcast will be a source of huge earning for you?
Well, I think it's sort of a golden period for content creators in today's world. I also belong to a generation where we don't know how to make money with writing because writing is writers are not paid very well. Is the common thought. But today, I think a lot of travel bloggers and Instagram influencers who will influence your place of stay, influence your travel journey. And from all large publications, they're all there, from Condé Nast to all the others, they're all there on the digital space. So one can't deny that one has to, if you are looking at creating a career as a youngster, you definitely, or at any age actually, you can do that. And podcast is a new age media, and yes, I am definitely looking at this as an earning not for myself, but for the people who are working with me. I hope I can give something back for them so that they can take this forward.
I have a common question to all. What is the future of this travel writing for this young generation? Because young generations get knowledge from available knowledge elsewhere also. So when you write, what do you think is going to be the future of travel writer? Because he's the one who puts in maximum energy and he has to take references and write, as you say, journals and diaries and then put it into particular format sequentially that too. One say sentence also has got so much importance in the words that he uses. So how do you think is going to be the future, considering the young generation who has absolutely no time to read or not much time to indulge into such activity of huge books reading?
I think for a travel writer, he must write because it is his passion. I don't think he can write to make money because, as you said, there are so many ways, so many YouTube videos, and if you want to see the Sistine Chapel, just put on the video of a Sistine Chapel. You'll see all Michelangelo's paintings on the ceiling and all that. So, if a travel writer has to write, he will write because he loves to write. He wants to express himself, and he wants to put all his passion on the page. So, the future, I don't see it growing, but I don't see it dying either because people were predicting, hey, koi kitab nahi padhega nahi kuch. But people are still reading, young people are still reading, though it's a small number. So I hope and I pray that this habit of reading and travel writing never dies. I do believe there will always be a niche market.
See, one thing is to see on the YouTube somebody else's experience, somebody else's take on a place. When you actually visit there, it's not just the place you're visiting, it's the entire experience, the people you meet, the food you eat, the kind of challenges which you face, and all that, which makes it into a lovely story. So, if that particular destination is a story for you, do definitely sit down and write about it. You may or you may not become a professional travel writer, but expressing that in your own way, in your own style, and that entire warmth of that experience, there's no substitute to human interaction, to the cultural experiences you have on the streets, intermingling with people from all different parts of the world, the food that you, and there are adventures there. Quite a few adventures. Sometimes you get cheated, sometimes you don't, and things like that. So you put a masaledar kahani banti hai. So do write about your travels. All those of you who are youngsters and love to travel, and you'll enjoy reading about it. वो publish करना कि नहीं करना दूसरी बात. You can always send an article to the local newspapers and they can happily carry it for you. You may feel good about it, but do write for yourself. Don't give up writing because that's one thing where you have the freedom to express yourself as you are. There's nobody telling you don't write this. Hey, वो वाला मत लिखना उसमें हाँ. ऐसा बोलते ना कई बार वो वाला एक्सपीरियंस मत लिखना. क्यों नहीं लिखना? मेरे को हुआ था मेरे साथ में वो एक्सपीरियंस हुआ था. I write about it. I may not publish it. That's a different thing.
Tell me more about your experience after shifting to Bangalore and how exactly these influences as you had spoken to me. What has influenced you into getting into this writing world of travel writing?
Well, I am, I'm an accidental, I think, writer. I never knew that I had a natural flair for writing, and I'm one with myself when I write. I only realized it when I tried to reboot my career after many years of being at home. Looking after my family, when my son left to study outside India, is when I was left with a huge vacuum. And the world had changed, there was technology all around, and I did not have a Facebook account and nothing. So 2017 we left, and 2017 to 18 I was really lost because the purpose of life was gone for me at that time. And I didn't know anything else, but I tried to get a job as a writer with a few publications. They all said, I don't think yours can write. Apart from signing your school reports and writing vegetable, vendor chores there is. So I decided to write a blog on arts and craft, gender and travel. From there, I went on to write for quite a few of the hospitality brands based on Karnataka. And of course, I wrote my first book, which is again on migration. And that's a topic that's extremely close to my heart. My first book is the book of short stories called What Have We Said and Other Stories. I started my podcast during the pandemic in 2020, and today it is at a million plus 25 lakh download across 40 channels. I never imagined it. And my second book again is also migration, travel. travel in your soul, as my father was constantly wanting to go back to his childhood home. And what it does to people when they move from their own places. They've traveled all over the world and they've gone to every place and they see the new culture, but at the end of the day, they want to return back home. So again, that's also travel, which has just found a home with the people. And my third book, which I've begun again, is Exodus of Shillong, which is the recordings of the Exodus of Shillong, which is not yet being written about God. I intend to read that forward and write a full long weekend. Yes. Answer?
Beetashok, you have written short stories on your travel in sea. Do you have anything that you could say in few words? Something that is really enchanting, something that readers like. One of the stories in a nutshell. How exactly either adventurous or very humorous.
Well, this book is about all the sea stories, and there's another collection of sea stories ready to be published next year. So, I've tried to include them. First and foremost, they are stories. They've got love, sex, dhokha, adventure, everything. So they are basically stories, but the backdrop is sea, and it's set in some remote place. For example, now offhand I can't think of any great adventure, but like I've been to North Korea also. So North Korea, I went to a port called Nampo, and Nampo we were there for a month because we were stuck in ice, and then we were and finally we berthed to take some cargo. There were armed guards on board, and when we wanted to go ashore, we were under armed security. We were taken in a bus to Pyongyang, and that time the dictator was Kim Il-sung. And I, as a senior officer, I had to give a speech that how great Kim Il-sung was. And otherwise we won't get our dinner. So then uske baad thoda khana khilaya humko, and we were brought back to the bus. So all that has come in one story. So things like that. There was a hijack. I almost got hijacked by pirates. So off Gulf of Eden, and then I increased speed. Of course, I was on a very big ship, and I started going zigzag. So the wake of the propeller created so much of disturbance in the water that all those speedboats could not keep up, and they started bobbing up and down. So then they turned back. They went to catch the next bucket because all the ships were coming in a line. We were going up the Red Sea and the Strait of Bab el-Mandeb. So all these adventures I have tried to put, in and made a story of it. So I've had a lot of experiences, and I've tried my best to make my stories interesting with these experiences.
Would you like to speak something that you have compiled in your book, something that is similar, either adventurous or something that is really unique that has happened during your travel, which you have quoted in this?
Just share a couple of them. One was while going on that hitchhiking trip we had taken, because Pakistan was not giving a visa at 72 Indians, and Bangladesh war clouds were hovering around. So we had to take a ship from Mumbai to Khorramshahr in Iran, and so this ship docked at Bahrain as one of the ports of call. And there we were to be anchored the whole day. Both of the, you just in the ship and you're looking at the dockyard and doing nothing. And also, so we said we just stretch our legs. So we asked the captain, can we go down and just take a walk on that deck? He said, yeah, you can. So we went down, three of us, me and my two younger cousins, we were there. So we were taking a walk and somebody came in a van from behind us and he said, do you want to lift up to the gate? So we said, interesting, what was the gate? So we sat in that vehicle, and in 5 minutes, sirens blew, and there was a vehicle, a police vehicle, a military vehicle with chased, and he used choices, abuses for us, and asked us to get out of that bus because he thought that, like many Indians who jump off the ship for jobs in Bahrain, we were running, and we were to. And at the, this gun pointed at us, we're shitting in our pants, and this will ask us to get back onto the ship. And that was one very frightful experience. And a funny experience was I was in Germany in a small village called Lochheim. And that village we had friends from Nagpur whose sister was living. She spoke no English, and so we had a dictionary. And luckily there was a lady who had lived in America in that village, so she spoke some English. And so they were very happy, enthusiastic, very hospitable. But we were there, and one girl who was supposed to be a school student who was studying English became our bride, and she took us to a castle called Kaffenburg Castle. And on way to the castle, where there was a train station, and it was cloudy and raining kind of a weather, and I had to go to the washroom. So I asked this little girl, Gisela, her name was. I said, Gisela, I want to use the washroom. She looked at me and she said, I don't know. I said, what? Washroom? What washroom? So I said, toilet. No. She did not toilet. I didn't know what to do, and I was desperate. I had to go, and when you have to go, you have to go. And there's no substitute to that. And so I didn't know how am I going to tell her that I want to go and pee. So while I was thinking in my mind for all possible ideas, something happened. God saved me, and she used a Rasthas or something like some German word. It's in the book, and she said, "Oh, that," and it was absolutely right there.
What about the universal sign? Everyone knows this.
I did all that. She wouldn't. She just was blank. And she had come very well dressed. I'm the guide, and I'm English speaking, the only one in that village. And also, she had that whole aura about her and her confidence. And this was, I was ruining her confidence by asking her things. So, ऐसे कुछ बहुत सारे मजेदार किस्से हुए, and it's fun, when you look back, and at that point in time, you were quite, one was very scary, the other was very awkward, but maza aaya.
Regarding this language problem, I have another experience. My first visit to Paris. So three of us on the ship. The boat was Rome. We took a train to Paris, and we went to a restaurant for a meal, and then those guys, without asking, they served us some red wine. So wine नहीं चाहिए, हम लोगों को पानी चाहिए. So we finished our meal, and then we got very thirsty. So we said, water. So this waiter either pretended not to understand or didn't understand anything. So water, what he didn't say. So I said, water, क्या हो सकता है? Aqua. Then we did that. Still he didn't pretend not. Finally, and I'll never forget, water in French means eau, E-A-U, So I'll never forget that because we almost died of thirst and we didn't get water. We had to leave that place. And later I asked somebody, my brother, he knows French, he speaks French very well. He says they're deliberately doing it because they know that you don't speak French, so they will pretend not to understand if you speak in English. Yeah.
Another very humorous thing that you noticed is gestures made by people. They have different meaning in different parts of the world. We were in Iran and in Tehran, we couldn't hitchhike, because Tehran is a big city and nobody stops for anybody. So we had to take taxi. And वो taxi के लिए ऐसे खड़ा रहो taxi जैसे करो तो he would just do. So we didn't understand only what's happening. Is he surprised that we are asking for what was it? Later we came to know that sign means no, I'm not available. And I can't do all the gestures here. It's some of them are pretty indecent. But they have different meanings in different parts of the world. So don't go by your baggage. कि भई ये India में इसका मतलब ये होता है नहीं. It's not true.
So, lovely audience, we have three eminent writers here on travel writing and otherwise also write fiction books and as we know that she is one hell of a podcaster, that is the word I want, and very successful though. Vilas,
Most successful among us.
Yeah, Vilas has been the Korean and so many years we have seen him here and we are thankful to him that where we are sitting, there is this fitness center He is one of the founders and a trustee here. So I would like you to throw any question if you have to these three eminent persons sitting with me.
So can I ask a question?
Yeah.
You know, people in the dais, you all over the world talked about everything across what you saw. But can you throw some light on Indian travels? I have traveled abroad also, everything. It was all that big glory, big this, big that, biggest that, because this. But nothing ancient and nothing, relevant to the human
India.
life down the ages. Like in India, we have so much of exposure, which now it is coming up. So, do you have any plans to cover India as you have covered the world?
So yes, my book is about the Northeast, and I have covered the culture of Northeast. It is a lot about Bengal. It is about Delhi, where the Bengalis are settled also. So India is my muse, and again, my third book that I'm working on is also on the Northeast. So I think a part of India that remains untouched. Have I been able to answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Vilas has traveled quite a bit in India, so maybe he would be able to speak on this.
Jammu, it's a very good idea about writing and all, but it is a hell of a job. So, while I would love to write about all my travels in India, and I love India, it's beautiful. Every place you go to, you feel, I will see this also and go back also. So, India is spectacular, no doubt about it, but writing a book about those travels, I don't know. Utna enthusiasm, utna energy is something which I'm not too sure whether I have it now. If I do, I will love to write.
Before I close, yeah.
I just want to know, do you think there is a certain privilege that's attached to traveling? And how would you advise somebody? What would you say to somebody who's young, probably doesn't come from a lot of privileged background, but loves to travel, on how they should probably go about it? That's the first part of the question. The second, just quickly, what difference do you see in traveling, say 10 or 15 years ago, and traveling today? I'm sure it's easier to become a lot more exposure to the places you stay, but otherwise also you see a lot of difference and a lot of change in the way people travel and how that is. Yeah.
See, as far as you see, you need, according to me, you need 3-4 things essential to be able to travel a lot. One is health, which at my age I should talk about it. The other is first is enthusiasm. Second is health. Third is money. And fourth is interest in a particular place, or a particular event. Or, for example, there are people who are in India and a lot of them have still gone to Dev Deepava in Benares. It's one of the most spectacular evening that I have seen. I went twice for it, and I'm ready to go third time. It's so stunning. It's something amazing, something totally different. Rahasawal, at your young age, what I would do and what I did actually is to take short holidays every year. Go see India. And as you grow and you start earning on your own and all, then plan for shorter trips, go see those places. And don't go on these typical conducted tours, because they are mechanical, those tours. And they tell you this is Eiffel Tower and your bus is going. Now you want to go up the Eiffel Tower, you want to go and enjoy it, you better come back and then do it. So may as well do that. The second part of your question is about change in travel. I haven't really noticed much, except that logistics have become easier. It's become easier to buy your tickets, it's become easier to book your hotel, see which place are you seeing, you can go on the internet and see your hotel and stuff like that. But that apart, basically travel is the same. You go there, you explore, you have surprises, you book a taxi, relocate, things like that. Very interesting things happen in travel. And so it's the same. The only thing is the logistics have improved.
Yeah. So,
So recently I went to Odisha by bike from Nagpur. And I had a question that while traveling from Odisha to Chhattisgarh while traveling, so my network was not going so that I had good network. And I was traveling from Chilika and the boat was on the road. So I decided to cancel the road and take boat ride. And it was already 7 p.m. It was dark. And I was,
Mahanadi.
sorry,
Boat ride how? Mahanadi.
no, sir, Chilika.
Yeah, from Chilika where?
Where?
Crossing that 5 kilometer distance.
Okay.
Understood.
Yes, so I was worried about I'm not able to contact anyone and how to cross the road as my map is not working. And it was already dark. So how to tackle that fear while we are traveling somewhere?
Though I'm not a panelist, since I'm a bike rider myself, I'll answer your question very quickly. You should do Google mapping and do off road mapping before you start your ride. You should have all maps ready with you. Like I have about 5-6 maps ready. Now you are not going to go to that places. Once you have that, you can even without equipment you can access and your bike will show you the road.
That's why I told you actually I had another route but I took this one. So I was standing with this. So sometimes we are like alone and we don't know what to do. So
See, we got so used to mobile कि अपने को याद ही नहीं कि मोबाइल के बगैर कैसे जीते थे. You know, everybody is in. I mean, even a minute goes and you want to check कि has a message come or something is come, which is according to me quite a, and I'm also victim of that. But I've done maximum of my travels when mobile was not there, and believe me, it's so peaceful because you're exploring, you're finding out, you're meeting people. लोगों को पूछने में भी मजा आती है ना. How do I reach this place? How do I get there? And stuff like that. This mobile, and you know, you converse with no one. And you try and walk, and you गलती भी करता है ना Google Maps. हमको ऐसा घुमा दिया उसने Czech Republic में, and actually it was a blessing because we saw some beautiful countryside instead of taking the super expressway highway. So, but what I'm trying to tell you is that one thing is to be dependent on the mobile, the other is to do your homework as Prashant said. Before getting, you may do it on mobile or you may take physical map with you. It's so much nicer. I love to have my physical map with me. So that you know where you're going and all that. Constantly you mobile check करते रहना heading.
Anyone? So, my close. मराठी में एक कहावत है केल्याने देशाटन पंडित मैत्री सभेद संचार शास्त्र ग्रंथ विलोकन पूजा चातुर्य ये तो सिर्फ this is part. So guys, thank you very much for being here and listening to these eminent people. Do travel, and everybody has a writer in him or in her. Just try and explore, just do some scribbling, and you will understand that whatever shorter distances you have traveled, you could write it very well. You know, I mean,
and even if you read that 20 years later, you won't think, you're not shown it to anybody, you will enjoy it. You will go back to the time 20 years ago.
I mean, say taking out selfies, photographs, wherever we go, is part of the generation game. But beyond that, you could just write about what you did there at that typical spot, viewing spot, and you will enjoy it afterwards and just put it in maybe FB or Instagram, which will be there for you forever. Okay, do plan. Planning is the first thing, right? Plan your travel. Planning is a must. Without planning, nothing goes. And plan it in your mobile and just keep it there. Your plan will never go whether it is in notes or whether it is in your maps. Map stays with you forever. Okay? Enjoy writing. Thank you very much. Thank you to all of you.